I listen to podcasts for.
Yeah. So what's going on, Robert? We got Jeff and Robert on the show. What's going on?
We were talking about the Magic the Gathering. You play
Arena. What's up?
I play, but yeah, I have a red deck. A red deck wins. That just like matches are going to be over real quick. I'm either going to annihilate you in like 6 turns, or you're going to blow me up. You're going to blow me up in like 12. Yeah.
So I have a story about like Magic the Gathering cards.
Magic the Gathering story.
My dad, like one time when I was in high school, like literally found out that I had Magic the Gathering cards, and he took them away. Like he was like, "This is like a cult shit," and he was like, "You can't have this no more."
You know, my mom said the same thing, and then I like sat down with the game, and like I was like, "Mom, this is how you do it." She thought, she was like, "Oh, this is
shit of all time.
This is like literally casting spells or some shit." And I'm like, "No, check this out." And she was just like, "Oh." So she's like, "It's just a board game with cards."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, Mom, that's all it is. It's got like
magic words in it or whatever."
Yeah.
Like, oh, look at that. I summoned a fucking goblin or whatever. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like, the lore stuff is like you're supposed to be a planeswalker or a wizard or whatever.
It's no different than like reading like Tolkien or whatever.
It's no different than like playing video games or anything. Yeah. It's not even like, I know people who are, the lore is not half bad, because my buddy works at a local game store. And so I was thinking about getting Strixhaven, but I don't know.
I think you can get some free cards on you can get definitely some free cards on the arena.
The lore is not that bad. And to be honest, since Dungeons and Dragons, they weren't, I don't know if they were problematic before, but I know since Hasbro brought them out and they brought out D&D, like they've been doing
They're the woke mob now. They're the woke mob now.
Well, yeah, like have you like, I think their woke stuff is like really cool actually. Like no joke. Like I think they've done like a lot of cool characters. Like the way they do like black people and Asian people, I think is really cool. Mm-hmm. Teferi's like awesome. I like that. I know you were just joking, but I like that series they're doing. They did that Black Girl, not Black Girl, but it's just like Black is Magic, and they just let they let black artists do their cards.
That's cool.
Yeah, and they're like all different styles and stuff. They were pretty cool. But yeah, people like lost their. This is a Thursday show. They lost their motherfucking minds. Like they were like, "Oh, look at this woke shit," and it's just like, it's like you nerds are gonna play competitive Magic the Gathering no matter what. So you might as well. I mean, you gotta look at like Hasbro's point of view is they're like, we're gonna try to. Black nerds do exist, so let's try to get some of that black nerd money. And then also another thing. So have you ever heard of the three archetypes that one of their creators came up with a zillion years ago? How there's 3 types of Magic players.
No, what are the 3 types?
Okay, so there's
3 genders, is what you're saying?
Yeah, there's 3 genders of Magic players. So there's a Timmy, I believe it's called. And what the Timmy is, it's not, these aren't like pejoratives. There's not one thing that's better than the other or anything like that.
Not like the squeaky voice kid that's playing Smash.
No. These are just like
different.
These are just mental archetypes of like the creators noticed that how people were playing the game. So the Timmy is the guy who's like, oh, I just want to like play green and cast big, giant monsters, and that's what I want to do. And I don't really care about anything else. Like even winning or losing, I don't care about. I just want to like do things.
You want to do the same. You want to do the kind of magic that you want to do.
Yeah. So like that's the Timmy, and I can't remember. There's another archetype, and I can't remember. It's like maybe a Johnny or something. And
It's like Jimmy, maybe?
No, I can't remember. You'd have to Google it real quick. And I'm playing Elite Dangerous as we talk. So, so there's another archetype. It's like let's just call him the Johnny, right? And so what the Johnny is, he's the guy who's just like, I don't even care about winning or losing. What I want to do is I want to be creative. and I want like my own. I want my style to come through. So those are a lot of people have like weird like they'll have weird blue decks that mill cards. You know, just that do all
the most annoying kind of player of
right. But they just want to like be creative and like do weird stuff and try to break the game.
Yeah,
they're not like hyper competitive either.
But like they're the most frustrating kind of people though in the world.
Oh, absolutely. And then so lastly, there's the third and final archetype, which is the oh no. I want to say the screw, and that's
I got a link from Weasel 00707 in chat, who sent there's the Timmy, the Johnny, the Spike, and the Vorthos.
I've never heard of this Vorthos, so I'd like to like maybe Google that.
All right, so let me read them.
Yeah, the Spike I want to talk about. The Spike's very important to this whole woke mob thing.
Go to Spike.
Okay, so I am definitely a Spike. What a Spike is, what a Spike is, how they get fun out of the game is, oh, I win. That's my fun. They might try to craft a deck, but most of the time they're net decking and they're just looking at tournament results and going, oh, this is the best deck.
They're closers. They want the coffee. Yeah. Coffee is for closers.
Absolutely. Winning is the way that they play, the way they like to interact.
It's competitive, motherfucker.
And I don't even think that's like a cheesy kind of way to play, because that's definitely how I play. I just net deck. I'm not trying to sit here for. There's people way smarter than me have put decks together. That's the way I think about it. So even if I go find like the top deck that's dominating professional right now, that doesn't mean I'm going to win, because I still need to like play that deck and learn how to pilot that deck.
Right.
But that's the way I like to play. So getting to the woke mob thing, Magic made they made a card like celebrating the Spike, and God forbid that art is a woman.
Oh,
it's like a short-haired. It's a short-haired
Spike.
Yeah, and people, these
how progressive
fucking guys, these fucking no lives, these fucking MGTOW men going their own way but complaining about what women do every 30 seconds. They lost their minds. This was probably like 5 or 6 years ago.
I love it.
It's unbelievable. And I was like, unbelievable. This is when I started to get back into Magic. Well, not really because of Arena. And I was just like, wow, people are trash, and this makes me never want to play the game live.
Seems like you're taking all of the fun out of the thing.
Well, my buddy, again, who works at the game store, he
which game store?
He works there at +1.
Oh, in the Metairie?
Yeah, we should go out there sometime when everybody's not gonna die, when they start back up tournaments or whatever. But he works at +1, and he's like, I was like, how's it go? Because they're not doing tournaments, but he would just say like, oh God, these people are so annoying. Like they're just apparently, like they're just weirdo game people who are like sexist, low-key racist, and with bad hygiene. So it's like, can you blame Hasbro / Wizards of the Coast for trying to inject some new blood that potentially like showers once a day into the game?
So here's what I want to hear. I want to hear like John Kennedy complaining about the wokeristas of Magic, of like Wizards of the Coast and Magic the Gathering, which is what he was doing today in Congress or yesterday, talking about like fucking, I don't know, like I can't keep up with these.
The only thing I saw was Kennedy going to what's her face from Georgia, just being like, I don't understand how you can say it's racist.
It was Stacey
Abrams, and Stacey Abrams was like 20 minutes later. He's like, oh, okay, I get the idea.
Yeah. He just gave up.
Yeah, he did. Absolutely.
That dude, like literally, and I was just saying this, like he is basically trying to be the insult comic sender. Like John Kennedy is just trying to do insult comedy, like he's like Don Rickles or whatever the fuck, and just say, okay, that's what I'm going to base my entire Senate career on. It's just me doing insult comedy.
I mean, honestly, you can tell me, you've been into Louisiana politics your whole life. I've only lived here for 7 years now. it's probably kind of he
It's not
probably
the
has
worst
a.
strategy. It's not the worst strategy.
I'm saying he has a chip on his shoulder from being from Louisiana. It
Mhm.
probably takes a lot to get noticed on the national stage.
Mhm.
People probably think you're just like swamp trash or whatever.
But he is.
Oh, he is, but like people are like, oh, I'm not gonna listen to this, you know, or he's not gonna. He can be in the Republican Party, but he can't. He can't sit with us like for martini happy hour.
Well, the thing about John Kennedy that like, I mean, I guess people locally realize, but nationally they don't. Like, John Kennedy used to be like a Democrat. Like he was like a Clinton Democrat.
I had no idea.
Yeah, he's basically just decided that I could have a lot more opportunity by being a Republican. So you know what? I'm just gonna become like some kind of weird fusion. He did the fusion dance between Foghorn Leghorn and Don Rickles, and that's the sort of thing that comes out in the end.
Wait, so did he switch parties or did
he switched from Democrat to Republican?
Okay.
He was a former state treasurer in Louisiana. He's been around for a very, very long time, but like he's basically a guy who is like totally black pilled. He has no politics whatsoever. He's just in it for he's in it for the clout and he's in it for the lulls. Like he is actually
he's Kristen Sinema's granddad.
He's one of them. Yeah, he's one of those guys. Like one of the like dead-eyed, like complete and utter psychos that exist in this world. Like it's bad. He's bad. Like Bill Cassidy is like the other senator that we have in Louisiana. Yeah. He's like a former doctor who also doesn't believe in anything other than like the status quo, what's in it for him politics. But he's got zero charisma is the difference. The thing about Kennedy is he's kind of like decently funny about like turning a phrase. He does like cringe comedy, and it's like hard. It's not good by any definition, and anything other than like it gets attention and people will talk about it, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, he knows how to get eyeball on him. He's a shit poster more than anything else. Right, like that's what he is.
Man, that's wild. I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
He was that bad. Since we're talking local politics, what about your boy? Oh man, I can't think right now. Hold on.
You talking about Gary?
Yeah. What about Gary? So what is going on with that? Can you tell? Because I find it weird. So we have for everybody listening outside of state, we have a Democratic governor, but we have a Republican lieutenant governor. Yeah, Republican everything else. So the lieutenant governor,
Billy Nungesser.
That's what I'm talking about, Billy. That's what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. Billy Nungesser. Yeah. So our lieutenant governor has been. Do you know about this before I start rattling off?
Set it up.
No, he. You got to tell me what, because I only skimmed it. Honestly, this isn't like prep show material, but he is under fire. He says he's under fire from the Republican Party.
Really?
And he says the Republican Party is trying to, because he's apparently has got an FBI investigation on him. Let me make sure that's the deal. Let me alt tab. We're gonna do some live journalistic research. And journalistic research, I mean Google. Make sure that's correct.
Like in a Matt Gaetz situation.
No, not at all.
Because that would be sick. That would be
not at all. Let's not put my man out there like that.
I will say this.
The Advocate, Billy Nungesser delivers fiery speech slamming disgusting GOP tactics, confirms FBI probe.
Okay. Go. Dig in, because this is the first time hearing about it.
Sam Carlin of the Advocate, good old Sam. Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser delivered a fiery speech to the state GOP Saturday in which he slammed one of the state's top Republicans for crucifying fellow party members and made his case against the push for closed primaries. I'm surprised. I can't believe you don't know this, because you're like the local guy. So apparently, okay, this is what I do remember. I'm going to keep reading it though, but this is what I do remember. He said that the reason that the Republican Party wants closed primaries in Louisiana is because they know they can't win the governor's mansion without it. But this is back to the Advocate now. In an interview afterwards, Nungesser also said his office is being probed by the FBI, apparently over grants made by his office. An investigation he claims was ignited by fellow Republicans who see him as a rival. I 100% believe this.
He's doing kind of like a reverse anti-Trump Republican, and just basically saying the Republicans are anti-me. So I'm like, he's kind of doing a Justin Amash move, if that makes any sense.
I mean, I guess, but you are the local politics man. I mean, from what I know,
he wants to be a conservative.
Even our biggest hero of Kingfish was dirty.
No,
so
that's just the water that you swim in.
Yeah, that's why I believe him when we talk about Louisiana
politics. It's not just Louisiana, but like if you're going to do politics in like America, like Lula. Essentially, just to draw, and I'm not saying Billy Nungesser Lula, like that. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But like, just to kind of like draw a sort of comparison, I guess to say, like Lula, in order to make anything happen in Brazilian politics, basically had to understand what moves Brazilian politics, and that is essentially like, in order to do anything, you have to do some certain level of corruption, right? And so, like, that's essentially how politics works everywhere. But like, the level of tolerance for that corruption kind of can be higher or lower, right? And now, what Billy specifically is doing is like what he thinks is his ticket to like individual stardom is that if he essentially defines himself, because like, the establishment Republican Party isn't particularly popular. The thing that gets people like that makes them stars or not is firebrands, right? Whether or not you can sort of like define yourself as different from everybody else. So what he wants to do is make himself an anti-establishment conservative, while also like being associated as a Republican, but not being a Republican. So
would you say that's the same water that
he's not like a libertarian? I will say
that's the same water that our current governor swims in, just in a different direction.
The difference with John Bel Edwards is that he's not a firebrand and by any stretch. Like John Bel Edwards is kind of like let's just make everybody happy kind of guy. Yeah. And by doing that, by sort of just like playing the complete and utter center, like he kind of does the opposite purpose, I guess you could say. Like he doesn't really set himself apart from he's more like an amoeba, if I could kind of put it in
makes sense.
Almost biological terms. Like he just sort of like shifts his shape into whatever he needs to be in any particular moment that can maximize his immediate benefit. So like John Bel Edwards is, and you have to be at least at some level like smart to do that. And I think John Bel Edwards is a pretty smart dude, if I'm being honest here. Right. He has the ability to sort of like, he knows where his bread's buttered. He knows that if he like crosses the corporates, then he's going to like lose any ability to even contend. He knows he's in a red state, so he like maintains this bullshit line of like, I'm pro-abortion, but I'm a Democrat. And then while he's also doing that, he'll also be like, well, I also am I believe that, because you can't really apply the same principles of like neoliberalism on the local level that you can, more nationally. Right. But I guess you could say that he is in favor of doing whatever it takes in terms of like making deals with business to just continue the status quo going forward. And he's good enough at making everybody happy, so essentially like not upset the apple cart. And that's the entire politics of John Bel Edwards. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
He's a placater, and like, I mean, if you want to make extreme example, he's essentially like, by trying to keep everybody happy, he's also like entertaining the barbarians at the gates, which is the like Louisiana legislative Republicans who are absolute fucking demons, right? They're absolute monsters in the state. And he sort of has to at least entertain that to some extent. And then like Louisiana Democrats are sort of like, not they're very good ones.
No,
I want
to
say, huh?
No, they're awful.
They have good ones, but they're very, very weak, if that makes any sense. And they have this very, very defeatist attitude, at least, like, if not in every individual, but like more broadly. That's sort of the sense that I get from folks. So like, there's no actual alternative, and there's a lot of like giving in to these perceived realities based on the fact that they've just been, beaten over the skull for such a long time that they don't know anything other than sort of being like playing by the rules that they've always lost by. I don't know.
No, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
100%. No, I just thought it was super interesting it's like a year of the snitch. It's like everybody's flipping on everybody. There's no loyalty anymore.
Well, I guess like that was one of the things that was. I'm actually surprised it didn't happen more specifically with Trump. Like when, like in the national level, to kind of like circle back to that, I'm surprised, like almost shocked that there wasn't like a, throwing Trump through the barbershop window of by the Republican Party. They still have some degree of, we can milk something out of this, Trump / QAnon / everything, because like what a lot of people seem to be worried about, at least if you're like a conservative or whatever, or if you're like a Trumpian person or whatever, right. Was that, well, as soon and a lot of liberals kind of like perpetuated this narrative, to be very, very clear. Like when Biden would say the shit like, the fever is going to break when we beat them and I become president or whatever the fuck, I'm going to try and get things back to normal. Nothing will fundamentally change. Mm-hmm. Like the idea that like that strain would die was, I think it was definitely a pipe dream. But also, you would think that there would be some more like coercive mechanisms for like the never Trump, like Bill Kristol, fucking neoliberal Republicans or neoconservative Republicans to separate themselves from that, which they never did do.
My thing is that the maxim of Democratic Party scorns their base, and then the Republican Party fears theirs.
They cultivate them. Honestly, they don't just fear them. They're just like, okay, make us fear you. Okay, you did it. I'm scared of you now. They create monsters that they have to fucking fear. They're like a Dr. Frankenstein creating monsters and then running from those monsters, and then they come back and make another fucking monster. They never learn their lesson, mostly because they benefit from it because they can sell the monster.
Yeah, I mean, and then we talk about this a lot with I don't know, with other topics, but I think they fall into they're placing a marker down that their money and power and privilege, they can build walls high enough and put enough physicality in between, a buffer in between the mob and themselves, that they never have to worry about that. What I think happened is the coup scared them.
Motherfuckers are literally getting publicly funded private space programs to create a literal wall of space between the colony that they're attempting to create and them and their wealth and riches. Like literally, SpaceX could essentially be a space colony program.
No, absolutely. But I think the coup scared those people.
Yeah,
I think the coup, like oh shit, they can get to us.
Mm-hmm.
And man, like there's not enough. We don't have enough guns, literally, between us and these crazy people that we have put crazy shit into their head.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why you're not. That's why you didn't see. There was a tiny seed of throwing Trump under the bus, because we've got to get away from Trump or we'll never win another national election kind of deal going. But then as soon as the coup happened, they were like, we can't go against these people. They've painted themselves into a corner.
And they've painted the rest of us in a corner too. Like there's this sort of like perceived political reality that like when Democrats start to, and Democrats don't often do this, but when they start to like associate, and I want to say this part too. The fact that motherfucking Ted Cruz, the fact that fucking Matt Gaetz and Josh Hawley and a lot of these other like Republicans were not implicated in the stuff around that coup when they were like actively entertaining it.
Right.
And like the rest of the Republicans didn't like publicly denounce them, even though they obviously hate them, especially when it comes to people like Ted Cruz, actually speaks to the fact that like the Republican Party is actually still pretty fucking strong after that, and the Democrats can't do a goddamn thing, even though they have like a majority in the entire government. You know?
No, absolutely. They
like Joe Biden,
100%.
like as president, is like literally looking for reasons why, like, oh, I can't forgive $15 an hour. I can't. I'm sorry, I can't forgive $50,000 worth of student debt. Oh, I can't do $15 an hour in the budget because there's a parliamentarian. What the fuck, you know? Like they're just so afraid to do anything. Not, and I want to say this. They'll say that it's because they think that like their fates would turn and like people would be upset if they made these kinds of decisions or whatever the fuck. But they're really, I mean, like the real reality is that is something that would like materially impact them negatively. Like if you get rid of $50,000 of student debt or all of it, then that's one less thing you have to run on the next time. Now, and the way it plays out is that if you don't do the thing that you promised that you would do, then people are like, well, fuck you. I'm never going to vote for you again. But they always try to like be too smart by half, right? Too clever by half, and try to like maintain that leverage, which I mean, like it's almost like they like throw the banana peel on the ground for them to step on themselves.
Well, yeah, because I mean, the idea is the money and the donors, they're just hedging their bets at the casino.
Exactly.
You know, look at Trump. Would like to go back to Trump. Trump's like, I give money to all these people because I'm hedging my bets.
Mm-hmm.
That's what every corporate entity does. They go, oh well, I mean, take this this hullabaloo in Georgia, for example, which is great. I mean, whatever.
Can you just sort of like lay out what's going on there?
I mean, so Georgia is passing, or have they already passed the draconian?
Passed.
They passed. So they passed the draconian.
Jim Crow laws. They're back, baby.
Jim Crow
alpha males are back.
Electioneering laws, and so because these companies like Delta and Coca-Cola want to butter up and get close to the current administration, which happens to be Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. They're willing to put themselves out there and say, oh, well, you know, we don't support this and we'll move our business elsewhere if you do Jim Crow voting laws.
Yeah.
To where if the Republicans were in power, they wouldn't say anything about it because it's just about right now. It's what is going to get us the biggest return for our dollar, and when we give it to politicians right now. We don't care who it is. They're just the machine with a lever to be pulled when we need corporate tax rates lowered.
Correct. Yeah, no, and like they'll even like try and pull that like corporations like Lowe's or whatever will try and pull that woke shit when Democrats are in charge because it doesn't fucking matter to them, right? Mm-hmm. Like or when Republicans are in charge, it doesn't really matter. Like when Colin Kaepernick was doing the knees and like the and like Nike would just spend how many tens of millions of dollars of contract on Colin Kaepernick because they wanted to appear woke. Not that like Colin Kaepernick's the villain here or anything like that. Motherfucker got paid, God bless. But like the reason that he got paid was because Nike wanted to look good in the whole thing. It's not necessarily because he was. I mean, I guess to a certain extent, he was providing that value in terms of like the way we look at that shit, societally speaking. But like, it's not solving the societal ills that create those problems.
No, we shouldn't be in this situation anyway, where we're depending on corporations to carry the banner of social justice for us. It's
right. Well,
that is the dystopia. Like, that is the most terrifying shit. Like,
and what it also does is it sort of like puts people like Tucker Carlson and these fucking like absolute psycho, like basically mask off white nationalists, but they have like the thinnest mask. It's not even cheesecloth. It's like they're wearing saran wrap on their face, if you know what I mean. You can still see who exactly they are. It's like barely obscured, if you know what I mean. Like, it's a mask, but it's not a very good mask. But like they're essentially going to say like, well, corporations are bad, and like that is a true statement. But the reasons that Tucker Carlson thinks a corporation is bad is not because it is ransacking, you know, workers. It's ransacking the earth. It's ransacking our entire political system. It's bad because it's woke, man. That's why corporations are bad. That's why I hate corporations.
And now we get to
all the other shit's fine, but like the fact that the corporations are woke is bad.
No, that's exactly. I mean, that's right. I mean, Tucker Carlson is no more of a nationalist than I hate to say, just no more of a nationalist than Adolf Hitler was. It was just, or Trump. He doesn't. It's fake populism. Obviously, this has been said by smarter people than us. If you can't
Not
see
me,
that,
maybe. Speak for yourself on that one.
If you can't see that this guy's a fraud, then you know I've got swampland to sell you in the middle of Florida. You know, it's great. But
Florida, sell Florida. Don't sell Louisiana.
But it's the dystopian reality that we have to lobby companies, you know, to, I mean, these companies, what they're trying to do is, it's smart with Coca-Cola and let's say Delta. They're trying to get in front of a boycott. You know, their whole thing is, and that's the thing that the left, and I mean, honestly, black people have done very well for decades now, is saying, hey, look, you know, Delta or Coca-Cola, this is not personal. It's just that you do business in the state of Georgia, so we got to do it to you. You know, because black people know like what moves the needle. It's not.
I will say this, that there is sort of like this this point of like no press is bad press if you're a corporation. So they, like, I think a lot of corporations don't really give a shit if they're associated as the like the woke corporation, like Nike tried to be, or if they're like the, you know, the like fucking anti-abortion fucking Chick-fil-A, right? They don't really give a shit because they're gonna like move the needle and make their sales no matter what. Like, no press is bad press in that particular situation.
Well, I disagree with you because like Chick-fil-A, even Chick-fil-A cared very much. They cared enough to the point we're saying we're just not going to talk about any kind of bullshit like this anymore, which is for a corporation that we know has the ideals that it has, because it is still a private company. It's not even shareholders. We can look right and we know what the people who, you know, day to day run the business think. For them to do that is, it's not a victory, but it's something.
I guess my point is that like they got a lot of press from being the sort of like, oh, we're the like anti-abortion chicken honk honk, you know, or whatever the fuck. But like, and then they back off from it. That means they still have those like conservative bona fides, like that initial spike, and then they get to get everybody else back in because they actually backed down, and they didn't actually like totally back down. They just
I see what you're saying. No, absolutely,
they're like the best of both worlds.
No, it's a business decision.
Yeah, like, that's the motivation.
If Chick-fil-A was not based in the deep South, and let's say based on the coast, they would not be running off at the mouth like they did. Yeah, for sure. It's a business decision. I mean, and that's the decision that they made. They've crunched the numbers. They've figured out how many. It reminds me of like Disney had, again, my Disney nerd is showing. Disney had an unofficial gay day where just a lot of queer people decided to go to Disney, right? And they
I
just
remember
went. Yeah, they would just show up and to Disney. And then Disney scratched the mouse, like scratched his ears and scratched his chin and said, we can make some money from this.
Hell yeah.
And then they just officially had the gay day. And all the Republicans and the conservatives went crazy. And pretty much without saying it, they said, I said, okay, so you're so mad at us. Well, you get to explain to your kids why they're not going to Disney World this year when you told them they could. Go ahead and have that conversation, Pops.
Exactly.
And the people back down.
This actually speaks to something, and this is like a little bit dated of a reference, but I was watching one of the Matt Crispin vlogs from a little bit back, and he was talking about like distribution of the vaccine, and like the best way that he said that you could possibly distribute the vaccine is if you just like made one of them like the fucking cuck like liberal vaccine, and if you made the other one the like Chad vaccine, the conservative vaccine, you're just going to get everybody vaccinated because people are just going to pick their side in the fucking brand war, which is a missed opportunity, to be completely honest. And like the I guess like Johnson and Johnson would have been like voting for the fucking Jill Stein or whatever.
Yeah, get the freedom shot to own the libs.
Yeah, don't you feel owned? I got Pfizer, motherfucker. You live.
Oh, you're gonna let the China virus kill you? What are you? What are you, a lib cuck?
You just like totally frame the conversation. You take the framing of the conversation from like, do you get vaccinated or not, and you turn it into, well, which fucking vaccination are you gonna get, pussy? Like that kind
of thing. Right. So I guess since we're on protests and boycotts, I guess we should talk about Chauvin and going to prison.
Yeah. So let me come right back for that.
Sure.
All right.
Dude, your show. You do what you want.
It's our show. It is our show, my friend.
Whatever, dude. I'm just here for comic relief while I fly my spaceship through the galaxy, which I do not want to show on cam because I'm in my underwear. I am tired. Office is messy. I might be, doing some stuff I don't want anybody to see. So I am off cam, getting ready for the. I'm really, 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 really not trying to be an alpha tester for the new expansion for Elite Dangerous, but man, I really want it. I really do. I want to play around with Space Legs, but I'm like, why am I going to buy this thing when it's not ready yet? And it's going to be ready in like a month. So I'll just do it then. I hate paying to be an alpha tester. They should be paying me to do that. I hate any kind of that garbage where they like give people access when you give them money. I hate pre-ordering anything.
Speaking of
because I want to know
today from a friend of the show.
Oh yeah,
I got a book in from friend of the show Ben Burgess, and I have him booked for next week.
Nice, dude.
His new book, Canceling Comedian While the World Burns. So we'll be probably having him on this Monday. So just throwing that out there, folks.
Ben Burgess.
We love Ben.
I want to carve out a couple minutes if I can join that, or if you could not. I want to hear what he has to say. I want to hear his ideas of Destiny and Richard Wolff yesterday.
Well, actually, do you want to talk about that now? And then
sure, go for it, man. Sure.
Did you watch it?
I watched as much as what I could take.
How much could you take?
About 20 minutes, and I tapped out. It was super annoying.
Why was it so bad, in your opinion?
Destiny, and I like Stephen Bunnell. That's the thing, but I like him when he's going up against D-list right wingers because they're so stupid and easy to like. They're like bulls in a bull ring. They're so easy to get him to charge. But Destiny was doing the things that he always accuses his other debate opponents of doing, which they're doing. He doesn't do them out, but he was gish galloping all over the place.
What does that mean?
It means every time he was confronted with a retort to an idea, he would just change the subject.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, how like a Facebook fight, when I'm like, you're like, Trump, you're in with some chud, and they're like, Trump won. I'm like, but Biden's in the White House right now. And they'll say, well, you probably voted for Bernie anyway. Well, like that wasn't that wasn't the topic. You just moved to something else. It's a debate topic that people do to concede points without actually conceding points.
Right. Yeah.
And then your boy was Wolf was annoying because he thought he was like giving a dissertation. He didn't understand this was actually like a conversation.
Okay.
So he would just like go on and on and on. And I'm not saying what he was saying was incorrect, but you got to give Destiny like a chance to respond to stuff.
All right.
You can't just sit there and talk for 30 minutes.
I watched the whole thing. My take on the Destiny Richard Wolf debate was Destiny asked questions to, and this is one of the things, and I'm going to give away a trade secret. Okay. Is that okay? Yeah. If I give away a trade secret from Good Morning Comrade, if I unravel one of our deep, dark production secrets,
do it.
One of the easiest kinds of shows to ever have, ever that we ever have, is to have somebody whose job for a living is to lecture, because that makes your job as an interviewer extremely easy. Does that make sense? So you have somebody who basically their entire job, all they deal with every day is to communicate ideas. You have them come on your show and you basically say, hey, come communicate your ideas. And you ask them extremely basic questions. And that was basically like my first couple of years of Good Morning Comrade. If you know, all the shows that I did individually, that's basically what the whole fucking show is, right? So in that debate, to sort of like circle around to that, there was many points where Destiny tried to ask Richard Wolf, who's literally a college professor who lectures for a living, like basic questions about socialism, or even like leading questions about socialism. And Richard Wolf would basically like either answer the question directly when it was a correctly framed, when it was like a straightforwardly framed question, or he would reject the bullshit frame that Destiny would put around something and just talk about what he was going to talk about anyway. So he just basically had absolute command of like all facts in that debate, and absolutely destroyed Destiny over and over again. It was unbelievable. It was functionally, that debate was functionally a Richard Wolf lecture. And that is how bad Destiny lost that debate.
I did like that Richard Wolf, as old as he is, understood that he was on the internet. Yeah. And he understood when to be petty.
Which was very good at.
That was awesome. He like
started with talking about how fast the youngs were talking, which is like such a boomer thing, but it's also like really funny, really fucking funny.
Here's the thing about Steven.
Mm-hmm.
I really think
that,
I like him. I really think that he just like, he's a guy, and I don't mean this as an insult. He likes to talk. He likes to hear himself talk. Mm-hmm. So he likes to argue for the sake of argument.
Yeah, he's an edgelord. Like he's a born and bred contrarian.
If you put him in a room with, you know, Martin Luther King Jr., you know, from Beyond the Grave and the ghost of Martin Luther King Jr., he would take the side of like libertarianism and debate why we don't need a civil rights law. So he's blue in the face. And if you resurrected, you know, Adolf Hitler, he would like debate him against about why the Holocaust is wrong. He's just a guy that wants to argue.
He is as liberal as it gets. He is the most liberal. Like the term omniliberal, like I think it's super cringe. I think it's appropriate. I think like the way that the probably the best way to describe him is like primarily by what he's not. So he's like an anti-fascist, anti-communist is like what you would describe him as. He doesn't really like ascribe himself to anything other than like his own extremely specific definition of capitalism.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's like he has no politics.
I mean, he does have a politics, but it's like Buttigiegian politics, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
Like it's very, very technocratic, very, very like it is like almost like a distilled form of like capitalism with a like very, very. I think he's probably he's like the. If there was no politics in the world, and that's sort of like the failure of him is that like he does not account for the actual reality of politics. He's basically entirely theoretical, right? If there was no politics in the world, he would just be like what a liberal wants to be. That makes sense?
Kinda. I just think that I see your point about him being kind of just so rigid to where he has no imagination except like whatever his framing in his mind is, because what really struck me was that this guy that I consider like really smart, I consider Destiny really smart guy. He couldn't understand, he couldn't imagine a world when they were talking about co-ops where a worker controlled co-op would want to take their profit instead of just like making it so the business just doesn't run at a deficit, that they would want to take that they'd want to take the profit and use that to like sell stock and like grow the company.
So
he couldn't fit. He thought that in his mind it was just a bunch of like Soviet farmers saying, "Well, we grew 50 potatoes and there's 50 people, so everybody gets one potato."
Yeah, I think. Psycaster in chat actually says it felt like a classroom setting and not a debate, and I think that is actually fairly correct. And I say that specifically because, like, when I went to college, I was fucking Destiny, right? I thought I could like get one over on the college professor when he was trying to like say what he was saying about like, you know. Whatever level of economics I was at the time, right? Like he thinks he's smarter than the teacher. Like it's that kind of that was the dynamic that I read away from that more than anything else. You know?
I get that, but just like I like that Wolf did that because I'm not like a big argument from authority guy. Is like just because. No.
Well, I think that the arguments that Wolf were making were solid.
Like yeah. Oh no, absolutely. Wolf went on there with a guy who was.
And I also say this as somebody who has I myself have disagreements with Wolf. Like
absolutely. That's what
I would be like. Okay, let me put it this way. I say this about Vosh and I say this about Richard Wolff. Like, if their sort of brand of market socialism was to be the like thing that took over, like, or that became the sort of like next developed version of society, I would not be upset. It would not be worse than the situation that we're in now, right? Now, in terms of like getting to that point, I don't necessarily see, because I sort of see the order of operations a bit differently. I see I see things a little bit more democratically taking place, not necessarily like from an at work place. Like I think democracy at work in the order of operations will come after a political democracy, which will almost like it's almost like ripples in a pond, or almost like an echo. Like you need democracy at work from like not the co-op sense, but you need stronger unions, right? Which is not a contradiction, but like unions having leverage would create a situation where you could have stronger worker co-ops, and that's the difference that I see in terms of an order of operations. However, if we can like get to like the point is to get there, I guess you could say. And the path to getting there is two different things. I don't know.
No, and I just go back to my point where he couldn't understand that workers can decide in a co-op what they want the terms of their conditions of their work to be.
Yeah. And he would like roll out little tricks like, oh, the Mondragon Corporation is actually not one corporation. It's a federated corporation, and the 30 times rule or the 9 times rule or 8 times rule, or I can't remember what the number was, only applies per sector, and their management is its own sector, which it isn't.
Well, he even went into with the Mondragon. He went into, they do business with problematic corporations outside of the federation. And it's like, no, bitch. It's like, you also live in a society? No, I just thought they just went through a socialist fucking wormhole.
Yeah. And they only. I was almost thinking that maybe this weekend, or maybe not. We could do like a viewing with commentary of that. I think
that'd be fine. Friday is rough and rowdy. Sunday might be a good day though.
Maybe Sunday. Let's pencil that in for Sunday.
Yeah, Friday's rough and rowdy.
You never heard of so Sidecaster in chat has never heard of Mondragon Corporation. Really, the honestly, and this is going to sound like a little bit shilling, but like the way that actually the best person to find out more about Mondragon is by listening to Richard Wolff, because he actually covers them quite a bit on his show Economic Update, which you can find at democracyatwork.info. So just to answer Sidecaster's question, that's where you can find more about Mondragon. It's a company in Spain that is essentially like a federation of worker-owned co-ops that, and again, I don't want to like step all over myself because I'm not an expert on this, but they are essentially like, and they're a potential alternative to the capitalist structure. My view is that there's limitations. And I would actually think that Richard Wolff would agree with us on this, that there are not, it's not like not limited. You're limited by your environment, if nothing else. However, it does provide a very real alternative to the sort of capitalist reality that we exist within. But definitely check it out. Like seriously, the guy that talks about them more than anybody is Richard Wolff. So check out Democracy at Work. He does a show called Economic Update every week. Watch that after you watch Good Morning Comrade, of course.
Yeah. So yeah, just watch all Good Morning Comrade things, only things that we recommend.
Yeah, of course.
Speaking of,
I want to say one more thing about Steven though.
Yeah, please.
This is why I don't hate him. Even though like I do find a lot of his political situation and a lot of his I find him generally problematic in a lot of ways.
Really?
But, like, I don't hate him as a dude. But like, I guess my point is the fact that he is sort of like a sorcerer of what many streamers are using to create their own websites with their own sort of independent from Twitch or from YouTube funding systems is actually genuinely good.
Absolutely.
So I want to like shout that out. You know, I don't want to like say that he's like a piece of shit. Like,
no, it's totally not. He's not
a fascist either. Like people say he's not a fascist. Like he sucks in a lot of ways, but like it's not like him being a fascist is not one of them.
I really want to get it like for just a moment, just a literal second, and just say like I don't even consider Destiny on the left.
No,
but he's fine. He's fine for my entertainment to listen to when he goes against like race realists and stuff like that. But I'm really, really annoyed by the online left and just like our purity testing of nobody is ever good enough. Like I really, the shit with Vosh I see where it's like, oh fuck him. Shoe on head where it's like, oh fuck her.
So
and I'm just like, what are you talking about?
The context for that, because I look at some of their content and right. I don't like look at the drama surrounding them. In a certain sense, I guess you could say like I'm allergic to that. I kind of avoid the drama. Like, okay, let me be totally honest here. Okay. I want to know about the drama, but I don't want to recognize the drama and I don't want to acknowledge the drama or give it a platform. But like, at least just for the purposes of this, what's the fucking drama? Because I am very, very messy.
It's ongoing drama. It's ongoing shit, and especially with Shu,
like being like a pedophile or whatever. Like, what the fuck?
No, and especially with Shu because she used to date that guy that she even broke up with him. Which like salute that guy, that armored specter, armored
skeptic. Oh, he was.
And I used to listen to him because when I went through my edgelord atheist stage. I fucking listened to all that bullshit. I listened to Matt Dillahunty, who's not problematic. Armored Skeptic. He's just like he does the show, The Atheist Experience. I actually got into like an online fight with him and I was dead wrong. I've come to realize that. But this was like 10 years ago. But no, he's not problematic. So it's like, I'm just saying he's like, I think he's like the kingpin of like, he's the part of like new atheism that like survived and is still good. But like Armored Skeptic, who else?
Chat real quick. Like if you don't like Destiny, I fucking totally get it, by the way.
Yeah.
Like he's annoying.
I'm not watching Destiny to learn shit. I'm watching Destiny like at work to like laugh. I'm like, oh, who's this? It's the equivalent of like the Roman Coliseum of just like you throw like an idiot. You're throwing like an idiot into the Coliseum with Destiny, and Destiny's gonna like tear them to shreds.
Right.
But I don't need Destiny to talk to me about anything that's like actually substantial.
Yeah, he's functioning.
That's not what I'm there for.
He's actually good in terms of de-radicalization and very little else.
Mm-hmm.
Of fascists. He's very good for de-radicalization of fascists and very little else. I think I'll put it in that sense.
But so like Shu had like she dated that armored skeptic guy and she was just like fuck feminism.
Funny, by the way, I think Shu on Head's very funny.
Yeah, she's great. But she'd be like fuck feminism and I'm a libertarian. And she was also like 20. She was also like fucking 20. And then she's done a whole like, yeah, that was dumb. I'm dumb. Like I voted for Bernie. Like I'm dumb. You know, and like people are like, oh, that's not good enough. You gotta go back in the past and touch yourself in the past like Time Cop, so both your realities can just disappear. And it's like, Jesus Christ, you guys, why don't you relax? It's just YouTube. Nobody's like interviewing for leftist, Marxist Leninist poet laureate here. We're just like we're taking the piss on YouTube.
Yeah. And honestly, generally speaking, I think the stakes just need to be lower, if that makes any sense. You know, like the ability to talk to about these things, about like the actual world that we're having, like having it be on a pedestal and having it like it be addressed only by people who are like designated and recognized authorities or whatever on this stuff is actually extremely detrimental to basically anybody being able to participate in like anything meaningfully and like have them feel like it's meaningful, right?
Sure.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just being kind of a like a head up kind of guy here.
Like, let me. Everybody needs to just, you know, and honestly, let me tell you what I think this is. Let me tell you where I think this comes from. I think it's a race thing, and I'm sure there's people of color who find
people are racist against Destiny. Is that what you're saying?
This is why I think it is, honestly, because it's almost, and I don't mean this in a way of like, oh, you got to check your privilege and you're a bad person, but I think that white people in their politics and then who they get to kind of look up to, they get to pick and choose to where like people of color and black people in general don't get to be so selective. We're just like, oh, do you think we should exist? Oh, do you think we should have equal rights in society? Oh, do you like good enough for us? So it's like that, like that's who we got to roll with. We can't wait for the perfect person. We've got to like, oh, this person's got traction in this person has traction in society, so we'll roll with them. A perfect example of somebody I can think of, and this is where it doesn't work out. You've got to have some standards. You can't just let any old body. Bill Clinton,
the worst.
But he was good enough for black people.
He was good enough for what?
He was good enough for black people. They're like, oh shit. Not only
was he good enough for black people, he was the first black president. Remember?
Do you see what I'm saying though? It's like, oh shit. Yeah. Like you think that we should have equal rights in the law and shouldn't be discriminated against, but you're like a third way triangulating piece of shit. Well, we gotta go what we gotta go with. Like we can't sit around and wait for the perfect.
Oh, and the other question is like which black people is he okay with? Because like if you look at I'm you know, some people don't like Adolf Reed, but like his analysis of, you know, black faces in high places and the idea of a sort of multicultural, multiracial ruling class and his critiques of that, which was absolutely something that he identified, you know, almost a decade ahead of time with Obama, is like 100% right. You know? Well,
let me tell you this. So I think we're talking about two different things because I think I used a bad example. Not a bad example, but I reached too high when I said Bill Clinton. What I really want to say is that yeah, and it's somebody like who's going to be a representative in your representative government or the president of the United States. We've got to set our standards higher. But what I mean is like, who am I going to enjoy on YouTube and going to say that like people should have equal rights? Then that person might not be a perfect person.
Oh, they're gonna be.
Okay.
Trust me, if you're looking up to YouTubers,
Right.
if you're looking up to YouTubers, then like, I'm sorry, pal, but you got some soul searching to do. Like, no matter which. You stood for Clinton against my dad in the Libway. No, look, dude, like that was 20 fucking years ago, G Wolf. Like, so G Wolf in chat says, I can't believe I stood for Clinton against my dad in a Libway.
That's the kind of shit I'm talking about.
Like, but here's the thing, though.
Feel any kind of way about that?
You shouldn't feel bad about that, though.
Not at all.
Like, you shouldn't feel bad about that because, like, the alternative was fucking Pappy Bush, who was literally he was basically the CIA as president. Like, people don't fucking forget how evil the Bush family is, and it always was. Like,
I knocked doors. I knocked doors for Obama.
They were literally literally. They like the press Bush and like the early family like were Nazi, like they made deals with Nazis and shit like that. Like, not even kidding. They were sucking and fucking Joseph Stalin and fucking Adolf Hitler.
My man, don't feel any kind of way. Like, I knocked doors for Obama twice. I got offered a job to like run a Hillary Clinton like field office, and I seriously thought about it. Fuck that shit, dude. Like, dude, people
regrets are for chumps, bro.
Don't feel bad about, I don't know, trying to do what you thought was right. Like,
dude, the red blue thing is the way that like is like the lanes that that we're like forced to exist in a lot of ways, right? And like examining that is actually super helpful for me. Like thinking about the realities and implications. And like, look, I'm talking about this as somebody who like literally before this show got off of a show for the Jefferson Parish Democrats, right? Like, literally, I'm the producer of a show for that shit. And like, part of the reason that like I understand, or at least I think I understand, I don't want to like make any like too many claims in terms of like I don't have everything figured out, but like I think there are avenues to getting to power, and I'm not personally, and I don't think most people should personally feel too fucking precious about their own personal purity, if that makes any sense too.
Right. No, I agree. 100%.
Yeah, exactly, G Wolf. It's just a reflection on the past and probably helped you get to the way you are now. Yeah, like if you're not like every single person has a past, and every single person like has reflected on things that they've done that they like. I mean, I wouldn't even regret being a door knocker for Clinton or whatever, but like, or for Obama or fucking Hillary Clinton. You know, as long as you're not doing bad shit now. I mean, I even believe in like the redeemability of fucking weirdos like Ryan Knight, if that makes any sense.
Right.
It's just like right now he's a fucking dumb shit.
Whew. I guess we should wrap. We should talk about George Floyd though.
Talk about Derek Chauvin. Sorry, like I took us on a long ride.
No, you're good. So I really like the narrative that's coming out of Derek Chauvin is going to rot in prison for the rest of his life. I like the narrative that's coming out of this of this is just the first step. Because remember I said a couple weeks ago, I was terrified that he was going to get convicted and everybody would be like, well, racism's over, guys.
Yeah.
And that doesn't seem to be what's happening. People are talking about this as like a fulcrum, like a lever to actually get like substantial real change. I think the thing that is not surprising, but I would almost say comical is the right wing's response to Derek Chauvin getting put in prison for the rest of his life. Hopefully,
they fucking hate Maxine Waters, don't they?
Yeah, and that's funny because they're like, well, you know, the thing is, well, they got what they wanted because they got what they want. They got what they wanted, because if they didn't, we all know they were going to burn the country to the ground. So thank God for it took this one good cop to be sacrificed so the heathens didn't burn the country down. And my thought to that is that, so what you're saying is protests that turn into riots, that turn into destruction of capital, that works.
Yeah.
It's like, thanks for giving the game away. We'll repeat, will do, no problem.
Yeah.
So if that's the key, then that's what'll happen. And I kind of get not upset, but I think a lot of media people can't talk about it, is that they'll say, well, peaceful protests, the protests were peaceful here and there and this and that. And I'm like, you know what? Like, chill just a little bit with that, because a peaceful protest is great. But what is a protest if not, there is a underlying threat of violence there, and there has to be for the protest to have any teeth. And that's just the real facts of the situation. Because what a protest is saying is, look, I can get all these people together and march them over a bridge, and we can all go home, and nothing will happen. Yeah. But I can also get them together and do other things if I so choose. And that's like the implied threat that's behind any protest. I mean, the idea that you're going to get people to cross a bridge and the state's going to say, well, wow, that was amazing and moving. No more state-sponsored violence.
It's all over.
That's not how things happen.
That's fucking like dream world shit.
Right. Derek Chauvin is in prison, and that's the thing they have right. He is in prison because he's a murderer, but he's also in prison because the target got burned to the ground.
Yeah.
Straight up. And if you think it's anything, you're living in a dream world if you don't think that didn't get the goods.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that we live in a world that has to be. I work every day to make that world obsolete. If
we lived in a just world, that kind of shit wouldn't be fucking necessary.
Absolutely.
Right? And again, like, the other thing that's worth
Doge is crashing. Holy God.
Oh no, not Doge.
I thought I got in on the bottom. Now I'm down $200. Great job.
You bought it at the wrong time.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
It's a meme, buddy. But anyway, like there was the murder of that young girl in Cleveland with the knife.
Right.
That just happened like the day after the Chauvin trial. And then there was also our friend Andrea covered it, and she might be on tomorrow to talk about this in the morning. Cool. To talk about the murder of Andrew Brown in North Carolina, which was like right near her home. And actually, I mean, she's probably there right now covering this. So, and like,
stay safe, Andrea. She was so cool. Did you hear her call the majority report today?
She got in. She got through, and
first call. It's great.
She was in. But yeah, definitely make sure like that is a fairly clear. So I do want to say this, like, I don't take particularly a whole bunch of joy. Like Derek Chauvin is a horrible, terrible, no good, very bad individual. And like, as an individual being punished or whatever, I don't take any particular joy in him being sentenced to probably life in prison or whatever. However, at the exact same time, a cop kneeling on the neck of someone for 9 minutes and murdering them, and that having fucking consequences, is something that is absolutely necessary. So, like, if that's what it takes to prevent cops from murdering people, which it hasn't necessarily done yet, but it might be one baby, teeny, tiny step into that direction, might be, I'm not saying that it is, then you know what? It's fucking worth it. Right?
Absolutely. And that's the thing I'm taking the most, that's what you said is what I'm taking the most heart in, is that people aren't celebrating. Like, it was celebration. Everybody, I think, gave themselves one day. And then after that,
you want to validate that like this is justice, or like say that our justice, or quote unquote, our legal system produces justice, because it doesn't. And it's not designed to do that, and it never will do that, and not in the form that it's in now. I mean, you can call it whatever you want,
Right.
but I mean, like that, like that's not justice. The George Floyd's family does not have George Floyd back, because
justice is setting things right. And you can never say he got murdered. You can never say that right.
It could be punishment. It could be vengeance. If you're generous, you can call it accountability. However, if there is going to be a deterrent for cops to not do this fucking shit that they always do, at least in some circumstances, and if that prevents that in any way, I guess that means it's at least marginally good. I don't know.
I mean, you're right, and you just think about what was going through Chauvin's head. Is that he had a body camera on and knew people were filming this, and he didn't care. That's how like above the law police are in this country.
Kneeled on his neck for 9 goddamn minutes.
Didn't give a shit.
Goddamn minutes. Like that is like, not only is that a murder, like, and I want to say one other thing. I'm sorry, I'm like rambling here. Like the mere notion that this absolutely open and shut case wasn't that, and there was actually like questions in people's mind that like Chauvin might be acquitted, or there might be like a hung jury or a mistrial or whatever. Like the idea that was a possibility when that like was the case and everybody fucking saw it in 4K,
right?
Then like if he would have gotten off, it would have been so much worse. Crazy. And like I don't think, and to address your concern, I don't think that he's going to be like the sin eater in this situation either, which is also good.
I think you're right. I mean, this is an overall good thing, and I hope. Yeah, I mean, I pray for everybody who's hitting the streets tonight, and but that's what has to happen. Now we know the playbook of what has to happen. Stuff might have to burn, and might not. I don't know, but the threat has to be there. Yeah.
Maxine Waters was right, and also everybody shitting themselves over Maxine. Like so. Again, did you actually listen to the quote that Maxine Waters said that everybody was shitting themselves over?
Nah.
We played it on the show. I played it on the show, I think, like either yesterday or the day before, and like literally all she was saying is that like we need to be out there protesting no matter what, because police injustice is a thing that exists in the world. And like Tucker Carlson and like literally everybody on their right shitted and pissed their pants.
Good.
Like, it was so ridiculous. Like, because the way that she said it wasn't even specific. She was basically saying that like protest is good. Ooh, that is the statement that I have to say. And like they were just like pissing and shitting themselves. It was incredible how fucking like how not you can call it a radical statement, that's fine or sure or whatever, but like if you listen to it and actually analyze it, it does not sound at all like. You need to torture that language to make it seem the way that a lot of right-wing media did, which is, I mean, that's their day jobs, right? But like, I don't know, they made a lot of hay out of that, and like that needs to be addressed as well. Like teeing off on that, like you cannot let them get away with that bullshit. You can't. I
mean, I want people like that afraid. I want them to be like, well, we better. Oh boy, I guess we can't murder people in the street anymore. They might burn down my gated community. I guess we gotta. I want them to be afraid. I don't care. I'm sorry. This is how it is. Like that's not give peace a chance and all this bullshit. But that's where I've been at for quite some time.
Exactly. And like. To address what Sidecaster is saying right now about the Portland scene, that sounds like a permanent recipe because he's so Psycaster says Portland scene, it's hard to explain, but there's a lot of hey, don't do X because people it affects the most don't like it, while other people from the same demographic say go further. That is like a permanent recipe that so it sounds like some of the like anti voices are saying to like always do like restraint and to always never do anything that is worth a goddamn.
See, here's the thing. I might be oversimplifying things, but I don't understand why these. If you've got a group of people, let's just say Portland anti-fascists, who are like, let's do all the things, right? Mm-hmm. And their thing is like, let's do all the things, and then you've got people going, oh, I just want to like be out here and peacefully protest. Mm-hmm. I don't see how those two things are.
They're not in conflict.
They're not in conflict. If anything, those people are like, you got to look at that. This is not. If this is a war for justice and so this is a guerrilla war. This isn't like we're all going to mass all our troops, and march to here and there, and then that's what's going to be. How these things. That's what's going to move the police state. How these things have always worked is. I say this a million times on this show. There's always been a reasonable wing and a quote unquote unreasonable wing. And so what happens is the unreasonable wing is doing what they're doing, and the government, the state finally decides to go like, man, we better negotiate with the quote unquote reasonable people.
Yeah.
That's how this is worked. This is how it worked in India. This is how it worked in the civil rights movement in the 60s and 70s. That's how it's going to work again.
And I think that you're right in the sense that like there has to be a fundamental unity. Like you can't have like, oh, we have the lib socias and the tankies, and I fucking want to kill the tankies because I'm a lib soc, and like everybody's a fucking rad lib or whatever, right? And the other faction gets the guillotine. Like,
it's ridiculous. It's stupid.
Like left discourse is the dumbest shit in the world, man. Right. Like that's just how it is.
We need the lady out there, or the person, they, him, she, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, who's out there on the front lines protesting, who literally has soup for their family. Because that shit like makes the news. Like that's just like the guy who was like the Navy vet or whatever who got tear gassed, and he just was eating like baton blows to the knees. And then the news rushed over to him and be like, yeah, I was in the Navy. Like I didn't sign up for my country to become a fascist state. I'm just out here just trying to flex my
country. That dude seemed pretty fucking cool.
You need that guy. You need that guy who's never gonna throw a brick. He's never going to like he's never gonna burn a target, but you need him.
You're against purity in a lot of ways.
Everybody.
I'm against purity in a lot of ways.
Right.
Like I'm like very, I don't know. Like I'm not against people who like promote purity, I guess you could say, but like I myself am sort of like, hey, you doing that thing over there and you doing that thing over there, who like are acting like your enemies. Actually, you're trying to like move toward the same end, and if like the only thing that you have as a difference is like so marginal and so far down the line and so removed from reality that it's like functionally not real, if that makes any sense.
Look here, man, like, and you need here's the thing, the right wing and like the right wing fascists already understand this. If you can Google you can go to like the Southern Justice, Southern Poverty, I can't think right now, I'm sorry.
Center.
Thank you. And the ACLU and stuff like that, and look at and just Google fascist, Nazi, racist recruiting. They will turn away people who want to do, who are skinheads, or like, oh, I'm a skinhead from the core and I'll do this for my race. They'll go, no, we need people with clean records to become cops.
We want Proud Boys. We want Proud Boys.
And it's like, so the right understands this, that like not everybody, people are going to play different roles in the quote unquote struggle. We need to understand the same thing and not fight against ourselves when people are just doing what they can. Everybody can do something.
And G Wolf says leaders seem to be necessary because the left gets sidetracked too easy. I think the only way that you can possibly have leaders is if people determine who those leaders are, and the only way that you can have people to do that is when they define themselves. It's almost like it's a very push-pull thing. Anyway, we've been on here for an hour and a half almost. Anything you want to say on the way out, Robert?
I have been roller skating. I did the roller skating thing because that's what people do now. I got a pair of skates. I'm really bad at it. My body's
square box skates. Or are you talking about
quad skates? Quad skates.
Okay, cool.
So I'm really bad at it. I can only stay on them for like 30 minutes at a time, if that. My body is old and tired, but I'm gonna keep trying, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be cool on Instagram like everybody else. But there's actually like a weird racial component that I did not know to roller skating, to where like Black people had to forcibly integrate skating rinks. And so now there's a lot of weird drama online of like, hey y'all, roller skating is back. Look at all this on TikTok. And it's just like, no, look at you're saying it's back because white people are doing it, to where roller skating never left in the Black community. But that's something maybe I want to talk about on another show.
Yeah, well, a couple more chat messages I want to read. Autonomous protests are the most toxic of all. DAs here. I've heard anti-worker rhetoric, and half the crowd will cheer because it's POC saying if you can't be here every night, don't show up at all. Yeah, I mean, like if you're appealing to the minority if you're appealing to only people that can't show up every night. G Wolf says the leaders themselves can become a problem. That's why you need mechanisms of accountability for those leaders. And Sidecaster says leaders absolutely are needed, but they have to have community. They have to be community elders. I don't think it necessarily has to be community elders. I just think there needs to be mechanisms of accountability. And for community elders, that's usually a long track record of investment in the community. So there you go. Experience is not a bad thing necessarily. It's not necessarily. I mean, it can be a good thing. But also, I mean, like as somebody who's been in labor circles for a long time, people who've been in labor spaces for too long, sort of buy into a lot of like bullshit that does not apply to people who have been like actually working with tools on their belt for a long time. So anyway, that's sort of like my take on a lot of that. But regardless, yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening. This is going to go out probably on Saturday morning. Love you everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.